police officer in the United States of America whose speeding car had killed 23-year-old Indian student Jaahnavi Kandula was exonerated due to lack of sufficient evidence. Jaahnavi was hit by a police vehicle driven by a police officer, Kevin Dave, at a high speed, and she was thrown more than 100 feet on the 23rd of January last year. She had died later that night. Kandula was set to graduate with a master's degree in information systems from the Seattle campus of Northeastern University. The case went viral after a body cam footage showed Officer Daniel Orderer joking about Jaahnavi's life, saying that it had limited value and that the city should just write a check after Officer Kevin Dave struck her while driving. Let me go across to my colleague Sam Daniel to get more reactions on the story. Sam, tell us, how are students feeling about this? Because US has always been this land of opportunities and success. But, an incident like this and the officer getting exonerated would be a setback to the way people feel about the US. What are the youngsters saying?
Vasudha, I come to you from the Loyola College in Chennai, and I have with me a group of young students. Mixed reactions. Some express shock that the officer could get away without being punished, but some say they're sure that the legal system in the US would have had a fair trial, and only based on evidence they must have come to this kind of decision or order. Let's speak to them to get a sense of what these young students feel. Thank you very much all for your time. When you heard about this particular development that criminal charges would be dropped against this officer now, what ran in your mind?
So first I was a bit shocked because the earlier footage which was shown on the TV, like when the Indian student was hit, there was a footage showing of him laughing. So it clearly showed that, he didn't feel any remorse after hitting that, even though he was rushing to another scene. So even though the court saw the footage as well, I don't know why the court took that accountability as seriousness, because I'm a normal person. If I go hit a person, I will have the sudden reaction of sudden shock. Oh my God, what did I do? What did I do wrong? But in spite of in that place, that cop laughed. So, it explains a lot of their mentality. So
how do you look at this?
I look at this, many of them telling that he had another one emergency issue. Whatever emergency issue is okay, but how can, I think one life is still going on, how can, and always telling it, he had an emergency issue, then hit it, even though he hit it accidentally, how can he laugh? Emotion is the basic thing in human life. He is laughing and then telling it, I can do accidentally, I had emergency work, I can get up and go. Then many of them telling it, not only here, many of the US, UK, also Canada, their places, Indian students are hitting most of the hating things. So this is a most discrimination thing. Also hated by her skin tone, Indian skin tone, black skin tone, brown something.
So you think there should be further probe into this?
Yeah, I think so. I think so mostly. I think mostly. How can their own American child or a Indo-American child, they can take something? No. Then how can?
An Indian student has certainly lost her life. It's a huge loss for the family. But do you think ultimately the intention matters, or intention of the police officer?
I think that they didn't do it for they didn't do it for an intention, but they should be accountable of what they do, because they are laughing after hitting a girl. Maybe if the Americans or some other women or some other country women are spotted in that place, it's matter in that. But I also think about the court, because they had a trial, so the evidence and everything was clear. So the court, I think the cop should be suspended or some kind of punishment, they should get it. But it's unfair that the court leave the criminals.
You expect, already the Andhra Pradesh government has urged the US ambassador for India to make sure justice is rendered for the family. Do you think they should go for an appeal now?
Yes, I think so, because there's an accident. So police officers and a lot of people are talking about felony hit and run cases. So what is the difference between felony hit and run cases and police officers who are actually leaving the scene of emergency after the causing one?
Right.
So it's very important for us to appeal and to get the justice from the people. So there are also a lot of political reasons behind it. So would have they laughed or would have they smiled about it if that person is if it belongs to their nation, that becomes a question there. So I think it's very important to not to label any person. So there are a lot of political reasons behind it, and
You have a view?
Yeah, actually, if we think about the root cause of this problem, in recent times, this is not the only case. In US and Canada, we have many cases that Indian students have been killed by the natives of. So I think there's some
Larger issue.
Yeah, larger issue. There's some jealousy thing going on. Many American students, I think mostly 30%, 25 to 30% are not crossing high school levels, but Indian students are occupying their place. So it happened in history worldwide, so it should be done in a
Thank you so much for your time. So, Basudha, interesting different perspectives from these students, expressing sympathies to their family, asking for justice, asking for the government there to explore possibilities of appeal, and also to make sure whether there was more than what meets the eye in terms of investigation. It's an emotional moment for them. Some also may point out that we should also respect the judicial system in the US, which should have factored in all the other evidence-based aspects before they rendered this particular order.